I refuse to allow Kat throw me off balance. Good morning and welcome to our favorite morning show and yours as well, Jasiri. Thank you for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to bring this show to you. I mean, I read somewhere that hypothetical questions reveal your inner thoughts and who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. And so it's a cold morning where, we have a... Anyways, we're about to get into it, but I want us to unwind a little. So, ladies, do you mind if we answer some hypothetical questions?
They only just have 2 cups today. Because one is not enough.
Yes, and it will be my chosen beverage. Mm-hmm. And
that's how cold
it's
you are.
It's 10 a.m. I think it's 5 p.m. somewhere, right?
Yes. Can we answer hypothetical questions? Okay. Uh-huh. Anyways, we're also looking forward to your answers as well. So please use the hashtag Jasiri so that we know that you are a part of the conversation. So let's dig deep into these questions, shall we? Who do I start with? Okay, let me start with Tolu.
Why?
If you could live in anyone's head for 1 hour, who would it be?
No one. I'm really, really sorry, but in all honesty, whose head? Maybe Warren Buffett. But I need that 1 hour to be the hour in which he's thinking about how to make money. Because other than that, let me tell you, people's innermost thoughts can be nasty, can be dark. So that 1 hour, let it be the 1 hour where he's deciding the next stocks to buy, the next company to invest in. I need to be very specific about that 1 hour. Because you don't want to go and jam some people at 11 p.m.
I know.
Don't let that be the 1 hour you're in their head. You'll be like, I need to take a bath.
Well, the funny thing is, that's what I want to see.
Take a bath.
Yes, that's what because these people, you see them as they're not human. You see them as machines thinking about money all the time. So I want to see that nasty thought. I want to know what you're thinking.
Blessings, be careful.
At 12 a.m. in the middle of the night. Okay, so
that's how she'll find out who likes handcuffs.
Yes.
Who wants to be whipped.
And before you know it, she'll say, I want to get out of here. And then you won't
Who wants to be called daddy? Who wants to wear diapers? Like, nah.
And you say, no, good. I reject it. Hey, you're there. You're stuck there for 1 hour.
Immediately, let's just imagine I get stuck there when he's on top of someone. No, please get me out of here.
I told you. Be very specific about that 1 hour. I said it.
Okay, so whose head would you want to leave in?
I think for me it's pretty simple. It would be, I've always been fascinated by Johnny Depp. Because he's a creative. So as a creative, people just see that you're there in front of the screen, you're performing, but what goes on after the performance, after the curtain is,
when you have to divest yourself of the character.
Do you understand? Yeah. That can be a struggle. So, and I've always been fascinated by Johnny. Johnny, people see him, he has a persona. Mm-hmm. If you know Johnny Depp, you know Johnny has a persona. And people just, he's managed to capture and enslave people in that persona. You're carried away by that person. Just look, there's something about this guy. I just don't know what it is, but there's something about this guy. So for me, it's just Johnny.
That's cool. What about you?
I've been trying to think of an answer.
So she wants to ask us, but she does not have an answer.
Honestly, the only name that comes to mind is Greta Thunberg. I don't know, for some very strange reason. So she's a climate change activist.
The young girl that they wanted to...
and she's been that since 9. And, growing up now, you would think that, she's trying to play safe and all, but now she's getting her hands dirty and there's a little bit of arrest threat and all that, and she still doesn't mind. So I'm trying to think, you're supposed to be thinking of sand and looking for boys to crush on. What is in your mind, Really? I don't know. I think
But you said these hypotheticals are meant to... we'll answer a question and they'll tell us about ourselves. You wanting to be in Greta Thunberg, thinking only of Greta Thunberg to be in her head. What does that say about you?
So I think for me, it's quite obvious because since I was young, I've always been fascinated by young people that do amazing things. Really, sometimes I get envious. Like, I'm here playing with sand. Why are you not? It always amazes me, when I see people, very young, children, and not just academic excellence, like people who are invested in climate change. Like, what are you thinking? You're young, So I love to see things like that. I think I had an interview with is it Zara, a very young girl as well, a climate change activist, and I was just so fascinated, like, wow.
You have to
be thinking, what did my parents do?
Honestly,
why did you not encourage me this way?
So I think for me, that's what it says about me. But anyways, enough about me. Okay, so I'm going to ask another question.
Why? Are you
She's
asking?
the questioner today.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Tolu was asking questions that I could not answer. Did I tell you?
Oh, yes, you did.
What questions did I ask that you could not answer?
Sorry.
Catherine,
what was the question?
Sorry.
The whole travel question. I wish you were the one here.
As soon as I came, she said, No.
You know, I was just thinking in my mind, I'm like, people always say blessings always has something to say. I was dumbfounded.
She actually did not have anything.
It was interesting because, you know, I got to learn and but I was just like,
No, it just says
No,
to you
she's
one
traveling
thing.
this year. Leave her,
Yes,
she's traveling this
yeah,
year.
exactly.
amen to that.
traveling
And,
this
like, and I don't mind if it's all expense paid, right? You don't have to advise
But
me
you know
to
we're
use my
working. Oh,
money.
haven't told Catherine what we're working on.
I hinted her.
We'll just you later. Don't worry. Something big. It's not just for Catherine. It's not just for the ladies of Jasiri, but something big coming.
And there's more entertainment for you.
Okay,
That's just what I'm going to say.
Okay, ask me a question.
Okay.
Leave you to
Okay,
ask me a
so
question. It'll be
coming
5
back
p.m.
to
the whole
hypothesis
weekend.
now.
Sorry. Oh my God.
Okay,
I love it.
keep it together. Keep it together. All right. So my next question is, if you could wear just one piece of clothing all your life, what would it be? Tolu.
Me that I'm barely managing to wear clothes as it is. If I was not a pastor's child, properly well raised, I don't know what I'd be, sincerely. I'm just
bikini it is.
Maybe. I'm just barely managing to wear clothes as it is right now.
Where did you
So
come up with these questions, though? You just, it's the rain that did that.
You know, when what happened yesterday happened, I got thinking about my life.
Yes,
And I had an
forgive.
introspection.
So it would have to be not a bodycon dress. I like jeans, I like pants, but I've realized that I think as I got older, I got much more comfortable with my body and my femininity. So I want to, you know, so a really cute dress, 3.3-inch heels that are block, so that if I need to run, I can run, but I can walk. I'm not doing stilettos anymore. We left that like 10 years ago. What else? I think that's about it. Otherwise, I'm just barely managing to wear clothes as it is.
So, well, there's that, and then there's also no clothes. Okay.
You see what I mean?
No, it's simple now. It's just rapper.
Uh-huh.
I remember
People will know
one
me
of my
now,
elder sisters then, I remember always saying that her favorite Christmas clothes or her favorite dress is no dress at all.
And I think for women, because again of sort of how there's all the expectations on what you wear, these situations now of whether it bra, girdle, high waist, skinny cut, you're snatching, you're sucking, we're tired.
I think people don't understand the movement to no clothes.
I'm telling you.
People just feel because you're a woman, you have to wear. You don't understand that we are in
we're
an
tired.
evolution, guys.
And I think
tired.
we're making it worse for ourselves because who came up with the corset idea?
Who?
I'm going to have a conversation with that
Suffer
person.
and smile. I'm just, one.
What's yours?
Rapper. Just want to tie rapper.
The thing I want to say is on the tip of my tongue.
Rapper.
And I'm going to say it.
Rapper.
The reason you're doing rapper, Musheya.
What is
Oh my, no, I'm not here.
No, you are
can
there.
translate,
I'm not here.
translate.
Why
You
do you
are
don't
there.
understand?
No, I don't understand.
Quick work. Make it faster.
Makes access.
Okay.
Okay, so mine is going to be...
It's a Wednesday, it rains. You people need to bear with us.
Mine is going to be bodycon dresses. If you see me, you know why.
We know why. What's your problem?
Bodycon dresses.
Well or not?
Yeah, they feel like her.
Either bodycon dresses or you see this palazzo jumpsuit.
Oh.
That would be like...
Okay, actually, if I could, it'd be my rich auntie style. I'm in these kaftans, these
yes,
man.
yeah.
I would be the rich auntie style for the
I
rest
think
of
you
my
like
life.
two-piece too.
I love two pieces. I love two pieces.
so-
All right, so my last question.
There's still
Don't
more.
get tired. Don't get tired. Okay, so the last question would be, if you could ask God one question, Tolu that has.
No.
So if you could ask God one question, what would that question be?
When I saw this script, this part, my mind is blank.
My mind went to Tolu actually. She's always saying, "Yeah, God, we have unresolved."
We need to resolve some things. We need to resolve some things.
Why?
Is it personal? Is it for the world?
Yeah.
Is it how to end world hunger? Is it how to make myself rich? Is it why you did not make me rich? Why was I not born into
There's
what
so
is
many.
it?
Actually, there's so many questions.
To pick
so
one
many
is
questions.
difficult.
Yeah.
What would you ask?
I think for me, I would just say, why do you allow wicked people live so long? Don't die. You are wicked, die.
Once you're
Kill
wicked,
them.
die. Because, you know,
them.
this whole thing about karma.
Yeah.
We'll be thinking that karma will hit rich people.
But do you know
It does
that
not
there are
hit
people who
rich
see you as wicked, just living your life?
I mean,
There are people who see
you
as
will always
wicked.
be a villain in somebody's story.
So nobody would be alive.
My sister. There are villains.
Imagine someone gets upset with you now, and the person says, "What do you?" And God says, "What do you want?"
My sister,
Catherine,
my
let's go.
sister. They are villains and they are. Person is a bad person.
Nobody intends to be wicked.
Don't
know.
play. You know this thing. He's
So
a
I
bad
think
person.
For me, off the top of my head, because I've always, ever since Sunday school, that's the only thing I've thought about.
you would
All
ask
this,
for.
why wicked people know. I've always just thought about what the world was like before. You know, when they say void, you think of darkness. But like it was
void is
empty, and then
emptiness,
there
it's
was
not necessarily dark.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not exactly darkness. So I think
When he was
my
by
question
himself,
would be, what
without
did
these
you
pesky
see?
humans.
Yeah,
Before Eve saw the apple, and Adam said, "I'm going to eat it with you."
and like, why did you think of creating? It's not like you were creating them for your companionship. So why did you make? I mean, it's just a lot of questions. Like,
So you see you now. What's the difference between you and Zara? See the way you are thinking. See the way Zara. What is the difference?
I don't think you could ask one question.
No,
I think you
it
need
can't
an
be one.
hour, 2 hours, and then he'll now start with my child.
And then we're giving you questions that will dumbfound you the more. Do you understand? And you just be receiving answers that make you want to keep asking.
yeah,
asking,
they're
yeah.
questions
And
you
keep
don't want
asking.
answers to because you
Yeah.
don't understand the answer.
Yeah.
Like, why did you give me this answer? I
That-
don't-
that's the limitations of our human mind.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's whatever people believe in. It's whatever people believe. All right, ladies, let's go for a
But
break.
they're bad. Yeah. I mean, guys, listen, that was quite.
You see, that was hypothetical, and it warmed your
No,
mind.
it was a
didn't
mental exercise. I wasn't ready for on a rainy
On a
Wednesday.
Musheya morning. Let's go for a break because right now I think I'm going to get in trouble. Catherine, let us go for a break.
Well done, blessings. Let me
thank
ask
you,
my own hypothetical questions.
No
Before we go
rest.
for this break, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you think of Nigeria's international image? But don't worry, hold that thought. When we return from the short break, your answers will lead us into our conversation for today. So stay with us. Jasiri will be right back after this.
And we go again, but I think this time much better. So you are, of course, welcome back to Jasiri. We're streaming live on our social media platforms at New Central TV. You can use the hashtag Jasiri to be part of all of our conversations. Now, I want to take this opportunity to say hi and hello to our international audience. Our conversation on Monday about Prince Harry and Meghan's visit has gone viral outside of Nigeria. And one thing we're good at on Jasiri is making sure we follow up on stories that make it to our table. And that's why our guest today is extra special. She's News Central's international correspondent. She's also an official royal commentator for the British royal family. She describes herself as opinionated, charismatic, and provocative, meaning that she's going to fit right in, right here with us on Jasiri. She's one of the leading voices on diversity in Britain. Ladies, please, a very nice and lovely, loud Jasiri welcome for journalist and award-winning broadcaster Afua Hagan, our sister from Ghana.
Hi.
I must say that
What
you
is it,
are
Afua?
repping Jasiri colors more than we
I
are.
think it's a gorgeous look.
Was it intentional?
It was
Oh,
intentional.
she beat us.
Oh, it was intentional.
I've been saving this outfit for today.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love this show. I'm
She
so
watches
happy to
abroad.
be
She
here.
always says
I
she watches it. She's not your
Do you enjoy my, comedic?
do you know what? I enjoyed the
don't
question.
Don't do it.
Wait,
I enjoyed the question. So when I was over there, I was thinking, whose head would I really like to be in? And I thought, even though he's dead, Steve Jobs.
Oh.
Because he came up with the same phone 15 times and we all bought it,
Not
right?
me.
Exactly.
Not me.
Well, I mean, I did.
I stopped at some point.
I did.
I stopped.
And that's why. So I thought Steve Jobs. And then I thought if there was one thing I had to wear for the rest of my life, I agree with you, rich anti-vibes.
Oh,
Rich
and you're giving us the rich anti-vibes today.
I think comfort is key in any case,
Yeah.
in terms of clothing. Well, for me,
Yeah.
I think, you wear what you feel most comfortable.
How about if you were to ask God one question?
Hey.
Yeah.
It
I think that really all gets us thinking.
does.
Now I see why she
Yeah.
evaded the
One
question.
question.
It can be
See,
one question.
I would think maybe something like, what is my purpose? Or why am I here? Or what happens next
After what?
after we die?
What if,
But aren't you already
what if he
dead?
says, my child, I've given you my book?
I don't understand your book. Which specific chapter does it tell me the answers to my questions?
Me.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely works. All right, Afua, let's get started. We'll get to
Yeah.
perception, but I really want us, this Meghan and Harry thing, I said the links.
Listen.
We went viral. It was crazy. But in terms of that visit really didn't sit well with the journalists we mentioned. That was Kevin O'Sullivan and Christopher Wilson, who criticized the prince. She's laughing already. Who criticized the prince and Meghan for being in Nigeria, sort of endorsing the country, sort of like saying they're giving legitimacy to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And that there were issues of female genital mutilation, lack of women's rights, kidnapping by extremist groups. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so first of all, I'll start with Kevin O'Sullivan, who is someone who I know personally and holds these views. Now, the station that he works for, who I've also appeared on, and I will be absolutely upfront about that, are a station that thrive on division. So thrive on fueling a right-wing kind of stance on everything. And so things like, you know, the phrase that really got me, giving legitimacy to Nigeria.
Endorsing.
Nigeria exists despite of the British. You came into the continent, not country of Africa, because, you know, a lot of people outside Africa don't understand that it's our continent. You came in and you drew lines through a massive continent. Nobody asked you to do any of that, right? And so there's still this sort of mentality that the British, the West, seem to have to give a country some sort of legitimacy. It's the audacity for me. It's the, who do you think that you are exactly, that you need to give, or because Harry and Meghan came here, that somehow, you know, makes, they're endorsing Nigeria. Nigeria exists, full stop,
Whether you like
without
it or not.
Harry and Meghan coming here or not. So that's point number one. And number two is what you need to realize about, you know, when it comes to the British royal family, there's kind of a, people love to take sides. So there's this thing that if you like Harry and Meghan, then you must therefore hate the rest of the family. Wow. If you like the rest of the family, you must therefore hate Harry and Meghan. There's no room for a grey area. There's no room for nuance in these conversations in the British media landscape. And so this particular person, Kevin O'Sullivan, and this particular station have decided we hate Harry and Meghan. We hate Harry and Meghan because Prince Harry decided to marry a biracial woman who is also American, also divorced. And also an actress. It's racist and it's classist and it's misogynistic. But it's also fueled by the British press, selling millions of newspapers and creating clickbait for all these stations. So saying what he said does that. Absolutely feeds into that. But there's also an element of the royal rota were not invited on this trip because it wasn't a royal tour. They're not working royals. They are members of the royal family who were private citizens going on a trip about philanthropy and actually primarily about the Invictus Games, which I think is a conversation that we should be having more than what Meghan wore and how dare they go to Nigeria. The Invictus Games is such an important part of injured veterans' lives. And Nigeria's army has 230,000 members. It's one of the biggest armies on the continent of Africa, of which you will have a huge number of wounded veterans. And so the conversation around disability and wounded veterans isn't one that we have in West Africa. It isn't one that we have often. And actually, the point of Harry and Meghan's visit was to shine a light on that, on the potential of having the Invictus Games in Nigeria in 2029. Wouldn't that be an incredible thing to do? But no, because the British press weren't invited, it's a conversation about how dare you go to such a dangerous country? And there's also an element of how dare you come back alive?
Because they mentioned
without incident.
Yeah, let's keep it 100.
Really?
How dare you go there, look relaxed, have a great time, connect with people, and not die?
Wow.
There's an element of that.
Because women are getting kidnapped. Because they said
if something had gone wrong, that would have qualified the hate that they seem to have, right?
And I think that the sad thing about it is, if not that you mentioned the Invictus Game, to be honest, a lot of people's minds were taken away from the actual reason they came. Not many people would have understood this. Like this thing you said, not many people really had access to that information. They were just made to know that, oh, Harry and Meghan came is such a bad thing because Nigeria is such a bad country. And then we are left to try and defend our country, forgetting the reason they actually came. So it's sad. It's really sad.
It's really sad. But also I think that we should not have to defend the trip. And we're having to defend the trip, which frustrates me. But there's also a real element of the great British press, as I like to call them, and I work in the press in the United Kingdom, so in a way I'm sort of telling on myself. But the great British press in the UK, once they decide that they do or do not like you, that's it.
That's it.
That is it.
Yeah.
And anything that you do is wrong. Like literally, right now, Meghan Markle could walk down the street and the headlines will be, how dare she walk down the street?
Yeah.
I remember
How
the issue.
dare
I remember
she?
the story when she was pregnant the first time, and the picture of her like cradling her belly, and how they went in on her,
Yep.
that she's trying to bring attention,
Yep.
something. And I love the fact that there are a lot of people in the UK right now who went and looked for the headlines when Kate was pregnant as well, and how she's nurturing the future king, the future king of the kings, and the disconnect and the dissonance that so many in the UK press have with what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's staggering to the mind that they can
is.
get up every single day and do this. Some people will die if they don't have a story about Meghan.
Absolutely. But a lot of it is when Meghan and Harry were working royals and were in the farm, as it were, a lot of it was very deliberate. So a lot of these stories were planted, were manufactured, so that it would take the attention away from the now Prince and Princess of Wales, the now King and Queen. If you've got lots of negative stories about Meghan and Harry, that takes up the column inches, and you don't have the column inches for the negative stories
For Prince
about
Andrew.
Prince Andrew. Or anybody else, for that matter. And because you had Meghan and Harry in Nigeria on this successful visit that went well, and they were impactful, and Meghan looked great, and you had
they came
all
back
these
alive.
great pictures, and they came back alive.
And relaxed.
And relaxed and happy. You know, we all saw at those events. They had a great time. Fuming. They're absolutely fuming. So you know what? What we'll do is we will we'll trash Nigeria, because that's easy to do, easy target. We'll trash Nigeria, and we'll trash the fact that he didn't sing the British national anthem. People like Angela Lavina, I'm happy to call her out. The so-called royal commentator has literally been on a certain channel for 9 days straight, just talking about Meghan Markle. She's this, she's that. Prince Harry looked uncomfortable. He looked like he wanted to cry. But just literally making things up. You weren't even there.
You were,
You know what I mean? We were there. We saw what actually happened.
And that's the thing, like when you have this hatred for people, and then you have people who have common minds, they don't care whether you saw it or not.
Yes.
Like just say it and then they run with it, like that's what they think.
Yeah.
But speaking of being a royal commentator, you are a royal commentator for the British royal family.
Yeah.
And I get that's not something you can just claim to be. So how did you get to become it? How does one become a royal commentator for the royal family?
Yeah, and
Is it difficult sometimes to do your work because?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Especially being a black woman.
definitely. So I'll answer your question, then your question. So how I started doing what I do, or part of my career, was actually because Meghan Markle joined the royal family. Is when she met Prince Harry, and then they became engaged. And I wrote some pieces about it for a magazine I was working for, and then I was asked to do something else for a channel for PBS in the United States, and asked to do a few Twitter chats. And so basically, I just started learning more about Meghan Markle. The piece I wrote about was how forward-thinking and modern it would be to have somebody within the royal family who was biracial, but also was American, was an actress, was young and glamorous. And I'm not a big, I'll be really honest, I'll say this with my chest, I'm not a big believer in, that's a gorgeous picture, I'm not a big believer in the Commonwealth, but how beneficial it would be to the royal family, who says it wants to expand the Commonwealth, to have someone who is of the global south within the family, because most of the people in the Commonwealth are from the global south. So translation, most of the people in the Commonwealth are black and brown.
They're colored.
They're black and brown people, right? And so if you have a black or brown person, they are biracial, absolutely, within the royal family, that's going to be beneficial to you. So I wrote a lot about that. And then, you know, the past, I think, 3 or 4 years talking about the royal family has been wild. And so Prince Harry and Meghan Markle added me to they have a list of like journalists who they trust, you know, trusted royal journalists, and I was added to that list. And
that's huge.
Yeah,
We can clap for that. We can clap for that.
and so yeah, it sort of took off from there. But then I also commentate on the wider royal family, not just Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So obviously we've had, you know, them stepping back as working royals. We've had Prince Andrew and everything that he has done, allegedly. We had the death of Prince Philip. Of course, we had the death of Queen Elizabeth II as well. We've had the recent cancer diagnosis of both King Charles III and the Princess of Wales. So it's been like a super busy time. And it's not something I ever really saw myself doing. My mum was a huge fan of Diana, Princess of Wales. I'm sure a lot of us could say that about our mums, right? And so that was really sort of my introduction into the royal family, and I was kind of like quite into her as well. But I never really saw myself, you know, working in this area. But when Meghan Markle joined the royal family, I became very interested in the dynamic that would create. And obviously I'm from Ghana, a Commonwealth country. You know, we gained our independence in 1957. My mother-in-law is named Elizabeth and was born on Independence Day, and she was named after the Queen. So like in Ghana and through certain countries in Africa, there is sort of a royal thread running through. And I think that's weaving. And I think that's very interesting and something that maybe I'll explore in a book one day. But yeah, that was kind of my interest. And is it difficult? 100%. Of all the royal commentators, reporters, correspondents, as far as I know, and this changes all the time, but as far as I know today, I'm the only black female on the circuit.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So even
In the global north, obviously.
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Is it, well, I don't, okay.
you want to rework it in your mind.
Being black is one thing, being a black female.
Yes.
Then being an African black female.
Yes.
is
Another.
So you're carrying like 3
Big loads.
Yeah, you're carrying 3 big ones just on you.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel in any way uncomfortable, or do you sometimes see through? Sometimes, could I safely say the charades, or read between the lines? And so, how would you describe this? I mean, because you're strong, opinionated, I love it, charismatic, I love it. Because it's easy to be overwhelmed and be bulldozed. Allow yourself to be
whitewashed when you're one of one.
Yeah.
Literally.
So how do you do your work and still remain unbiased?
That's a good question. It has its moments. It has its moments.
Was it memory? A recollection of something?
Recollections do not vary. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie. So many moments, not necessarily with colleagues. I have really great colleagues within the industry, as I will say, on the beat, who are encouraging, who are allies, who make sure that I have access to the same information that they do, which is brilliant. There's also people that completely look down on me, have this kind of disdain for me. You know, I'll turn up for a TV appearance and they'll just be like, really? You? And then I'm dropping facts and information and history, and then they look at you a bit differently. But the main issue I maybe have is from viewers, is from audiences who, because they feel emboldened because this kind of social media world that we are in, are happy to slide into your DMs and tell you, you're not British enough to be talking about the royal family, and how dare you, and if you don't like the king, never said that I didn't like the king, by the way. Never said that. But, you know, they selective hearing, right? If you don't like the king, you don't like Prince William, you know, why don't you go back to where you came from? Honestly, if people want to crowdfund for me to go back to Ghana, I'll happily go. I'll exactly, guys. All donations for flights and accommodation will be gratefully accepted.
And we'll go and do the kenke. She brought kenke and she taught from me, oh.
Of course.
Because me, I know how to ask. I finished. Me and Oga, we finished it on Monday night.
That's the thing.
Next
the
time,
thing.
I'll bring you girls.
Do you people know what kenke is?
We will know it one day.
Do you know what dokunu is?
We will know it one day.
You know dokunu is the other word for it.
We'll know it one day.
Afua, so I want to ask you something because you talked about you picking interest in the royal family when Meghan joined. And I think for a lot of other people as well, even Americans, even black people, women, she was like an open door.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the fact that the royal family seems to be struggling with that evolution. They miss a very important, very pivotal, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to show that the House of Windsor was ready to embrace change, evolve, and even move with the times. But when we spoke about it on Monday, Lolo said that she thinks the British monarchy is dying. And there is a movement. They do cost the British taxpayers money. They also do make money because of tourism that they bring in. So it could be a give and take situation. But how do British people really feel about what's happening and the state of the monarchy?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack in what you said. I think, first of all, when we talk about the missed opportunity, I think that's massive. And I think this year has really shown us how massive that is, where we've had both King Charles III and the Princess of Wales out of action, and they are, you know, the principals in the royal family. Amongst the 9 working royals, they are 2 of the most popular ones and 2 of the most important ones. And them being out of action really shows us what happens where you have the slimmed down monarchy, when you've gone from 9 working royals to 7. And when I talk about working royals, those are people that go out and do the charity visits, cut the ribbons, go to the Chelsea Flower Show, all those things, which seem quite insignificant, but to the charities they support, it's really, really important for a royal to endorse you. It encourages more people to donate eyeballs on your charity. And in a post-COVID world, which we are in, where charity donations drop to almost 0, it's really important for these charities to have this kind of royal endorsement. And so when you don't have 2 of your principals, if you'd had Harry and Meghan there, they would have bolstered the numbers. Second of all, the royal family desperately needs to modernize, or else I think what you said is absolutely true. They're going to die out. And I think had the royal family been able to modernize, to let the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry and Meghan, do this kind of hybrid working arrangement where they perhaps lived in a Commonwealth country and did some of their own things, but also worked for the royal family. Had the royal family been able to modernize to do that, we wouldn't have had the Harry and Meghan documentary or Spare, you know, or any of this, because they would have been able to do something different, do things their way. You know, now in terms of the popularity of the royal family, it still remains quite high, but there is also a growing Republican movement, a growing movement that says, look, why do we have this family, quote unquote, appointed by God, that is our over, like, head of state, essentially. The king is our head of state, and the head of state in 14 other countries, and a key part of our constitution. You know, why do we have that? Lots of people are saying perhaps we should have a president, but then who would that president be? You know, there's all the connotations. Exactly. And there's all the connotations that come with that. And yes, the royal family do cost the taxpayer money, but it's actually not as much as we think it is. It's under £2 per person every year. So that's not a huge
but they make a lot of money for them.
But the royal family does bring in tourism, which runs into the millions of pounds a year. But, you know, we would think that Buckingham Palace would be the most popular palace in the world to visit, right? But it's not. It's actually the Palace of Versailles in France, and a country that doesn't have an out-and-out monarchy, right? So you've got all these things to weigh up. The overall feeling in the United Kingdom is the royal family are good for brand Britain, and brand Britain needs that at the moment. We have Rishi Sunak as our Prime Minister. I mean,
what does he say?
I don't really.
I don't know how many Nigerians have prayed against against him in recent times.
I mean, and me too. I was one of them. You know, I mean, we have suffered. I mean, Liz Truss.
Oh,
let's talk about that.
That was just months.
That was 44 days of what can only be described as absolute out-and-out nonsense. I mean, she killed the Queen.
She says she's opinionated, charismatic, and provocative.
I love
and
it.
she's proving the point.
There are so many
honestly.
things I want to say, but I have to check myself because I'm the one that says without first editing. So I just.
But I mean, with all said and done, I really do like the fact that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
We're not used to it.
Honestly, just Harry and Meghan.
It'll roll off the tongue and everything.
Harry and Meghan, well, the
Duchess
Duke,
of
the
Sussex,
Duchess.
yeah. And they all have all these titles, don't they?
Yeah, it's
They
a lot.
change.
Like,
Yeah.
I literally could just call them Duke and Duchess of Windsor. I don't care.
And then they'll come for you.
But really, I like that Harry and Meghan are not giving this journalist the time of day because I would say that it's not a good thing to get used to, but I think that at this point they already know, they already have it coming because these people, just them waking up and breathing is news enough for them. Honestly.
They were predicting their divorce a few months ago because Harry went on a solo trip and then they were saying he was just looking depressed and Meghan is sucking the life out of him.
Every time it looks like he wants to cry?
Exactly. Harry has a look.
Harry, what are you doing? And he's had that look because he's used.
That's just his face. I mean, for goodness sake.
Some people also said they had to give the British people he's the heir and the spare. He's the spare. So they had to give the British people someone to dislike because William had his issues. So a lot of the things that apparently happened with Harry, some of it were given by the palace or insiders
Just
or whatever
to
cover up and distract. And so he became the British, the monarchy's bad boy.
But this is the thing, is that everybody likes a villain in the story,
Yeah.
right? And so they decided, I mean, it can't be, Prince William can't be the villain in the story.
Because he's going to be the next king.
Exactly.
He's in line to be king.
And so the villain in the story, unfortunately, has to be Prince Harry, and then by default, Meghan Markle, and by default, their children. And it's really, really sad, but it's also a really disingenuous way to sell papers, right? And what I really hope is, as we move forward in this period of the monarchy, I mean, we have excuse me, Prince William is going to be king, and then George will be king after that. But then Louis and Charlotte, are we now setting them up to be the next villains in the story? Isn't it time we broke this cycle?
Yeah.
I think it's very exciting for them because of
I think
the
it's
whole
scary for them.
But no, I'm even talking about the journalists now, like the anti Harry and Meghan, because they know that there has to be a villain. So Meghan coming is like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah,
she's biracial. She was an actress, a divorcee.
And so we just be using.
What more?
Are there people calling it what it is? Because this is just simple racism.
There is people calling it what it is. I'm one of those people that I'm happy to say what it is. It's racist, it's classist, and it's misogynistic. But a lot of people shockingly don't like to hear that. So you absolutely will get shot down. Then I get called. I love when people call me a racist for calling out racists. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it happens a lot. I mean, it's fun, isn't it?
It is.
I love it.
What is that?
Oh my God. Let's keep it moving. No, let's keep it moving.
No, I wanted to ask
No. Don't.
You can ask me off air.
Don't.
Off
Yes, off air. But let's move on to the next question. So the people who believe that Nigeria's success is Africa's success.
Yep.
And Nigeria's failure is the continent's failure. I don't know how probably thinkers, Nigeria is the most populous African country on the continent. So what I want to ask is, do you agree with that? Because here's why I'm asking. I'm asking, what can we be doing to change the perception of Africa? Listen, Africa is a continent of 54 countries. 54 countries.
Say that again, because many people think it's just one country.
Africa is a continent of 54 countries with about 1.5 billion people. That's who we are. I know that some people feel Africa is a country.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why. How? But we are
Say it in French.
No comprendo.
No.
That's Spanish.
We are so rich.
Yeah.
Our culture is rich. We are rich in natural resources.
Richest continent
We
in
are
natural
just
resources.
rich. Do we need the West to believe in us? What do we need the West for anything?
No.
Seriously.
We don't need the West to believe in us. However, we need to remember that the West decided that colonization was the only way that they could be legitimized, right? France, Britain, Italy marched into all these places, were like, how dare you have gold and cocoa and want that. While we're here, let's just divide up and cause division and cause, cultural divides, and we'll just draw lines through villages. They needed us for their legitimization, right?
Okay, so they just keep making us believe
that we need
less
them.
less in ourselves, and that we need them. And because
that's
of that,
power.
So why do they refuse then to update their perception of us?
Because it's comfortable. It's comfortable.
And we are allowing them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you think that even we don't have an updated perception of ourselves? Because now we see white people coming in and we celebrate more than we go there. So it's like we are excited to see them. We still see them having that power over us.
And also, we still see, I mean, I'm British, unfortunately, but I mean, I was...
Please don't let them come and send you back at the airport. Let them not come and send you back at the airport, too.
It's true. Listen, if we could actually take that, because I'm traveling back, and I would like my passport not to be cancelled. Thanks very much. But this is the problem, as well, is that we see the West as the pinnacle.
Yes.
And we cannot blame... I cannot blame my parents at all for thinking that if they went to the UK or wherever, it equals a better life. We can't blame people for that. But I think it's now time that we need to realize and accept that West is not always best. At all, in any way, shape or form. And I think that I don't think we should equate Nigeria's success to Africa's success and Nigeria's failure to Africa's failure at all. And like you said, Africa is a vast continent. And look how different, Egypt is from, Kenya is from, Ghana is from, Lesotho is from Chad, from South Africa. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different cultures across this continent, so many different countries across this continent. I don't think we should. I mean, let's translate it to Europe. You cannot equate France's success to the whole of Europe's success. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work. The way, if you go to Asia, look how different Thailand and China is. I mean,
add Malaysia to it, add Vietnam,
Singapore to Tajikistan. Do you know what I mean? They're so different. And so I think we need to, the continent of Africa, or let me bring it locally to Ghana and Nigeria, the countries I've probably visited most on the continent. We need to stop looking to West as best. We need to stop using that as the yardstick of which we measure our success, measure our value, at all, in any way, shape or form.
So you mentioned the UK's Prime Minister earlier, and we cannot have you here and not talk about the immigration policy. Definitely. And unfortunately, there are two particular stories that I don't know if we'll say they're directly linked to some of the changes they've made, but they are linked to how the UK is handling immigration. So we know that right now there are two men of African descent who believe they were British because they've spent so much time. So Anthony Olubunmi George, he's a physically challenged Nigerian man, and Nelson Sade, a 74-year-old Ghanaian man. Both of them are facing deportation from the UK, despite having lived for decades in the UK. 38 years for Olubunmi George, and I think 42 years for Nelson Sade. Now, George's deportation proceedings have caused significant distress due to his medical condition. Meanwhile, Nelson's application for permanent residency was denied by the UK Home Office, citing his failure to meet specific immigration criteria, despite his long-term community involvement. So imagine living in a country, paying taxes, working, contributing, probably having children as well for 42 years, for 38 years, and then being told that you do not qualify to stay and that you're going to be deported to a country you likely have not visited in all that time. No longer probably have any connections to. So what really is the definition? What's going on with how the UK is treating migrants? For a large part, we spoke about the university changes. Universities are shouting, this policy is affecting us. It's also going to affect UK students because we've been able to subsidize their tuitions because of how much we're charging foreign students. What's going on with the UK's immigration policies?
The thing is, the UK is going back to the time of hostile environment. So when Theresa May, who was our former Prime Minister, before she was Prime
Iron
Minister,
Lady.
yes, well, the second Iron Lady after Margaret Thatcher.
Margaret
Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, but
Yes, yeah.
definitely she earned that nickname. Now, before she was Prime Minister, she was Home Secretary. And she kind of adopted this phrase and this policy of what's called hostile environment, to make the United Kingdom a hostile environment for anybody that wants to come there. They basically had these vans that would drive around, and they had this kind of phrase on it, like, basically implying that the van would catch up all the migrants, put them in a van, and ship
Are they
them back,
animals?
right? Of course. And then you have this Rwanda policy, which is, been decried by human rights groups, is enormously expensive and is going to be enormously ineffective as well. A waste of money and a waste of time, and a waste of time that it's taking to go through Parliament. What you're seeing in the United Kingdom is a government that is in meltdown. So it's a government that knows it's going into the opposition, that is literally throwing its toys out the pram, throwing all these kind of immigration policies and ideas out into the atmosphere that are not going to be in any way effective at all, at a last-ditch attempt to stay in power. This is a government that knows that it's on the way out, so is trying to be more strict. And the strictness, of course, falls to the migrants. So it's that whole mentality of you don't belong here.
So I want to follow up on asking, is that not, we've seen it in play before. That's really what started with Germany and the Nazis.
Yeah.
You divert attention from a failing economy to migrants.
Yeah.
You divert attention from your lack of giving your own people progress, not your own people, to immigrants. You allow everybody to point the finger at immigrants. Meanwhile, even US, UK, France, whatever it may be, immigrants are fueling your economy.
Yeah, because immigrants are such an easy target. They're the low-hanging fruit, aren't they?
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it's the government, it's people that are in power, it's people that benefited during COVID from those PPE deals, where this government department, I'm going to give my friend a deal to make masks and make suits and make ventilators, and I'll give them millions of pounds, and the money keeps going around at the top. It's not the immigrants that are stealing the money from society. It's not the immigrants that are the reason why your councils can't afford to fix your schools and collect your bins. It's because it's the people at the top that have stolen the money.
So is this not affecting the perception? You said it's a desperate measure to stay in power, but people are seeing, even the citizens of the UK, these universities are complaining that what you're doing to the migrants is affecting us. So is that not affecting the perception that they have of the government?
Absolutely, but the government, the Conservative Party, who are in government at the moment, are so far gone that they're spiraling the drain. And so at this point, to be honest, and this is what a lot of people in the UK are calling for, we need a general election. We need a general election. We are due one this year. But of course, the Conservative Party know that they are not going to win. They will probably go to the Labour Party under Keir Starmer, which, will it be better? They're kind of looking like diet Conservatives at the moment.
But this whole thing, if you look at especially Europe and the UK and the US, what you're seeing is a pushback against globalization.
It's exactly
it's now becoming a national, they're terming it almost in falling under this nationalistic bent.
Yes.
Our people first. That's where Trump came with Make America Great Again. You're seeing it in France with Le Pen. It's everywhere in the West.
It's been building for a long time. You're absolutely right in saying that. In countries across Europe, Poland, some of the other Eastern European
Even Germany,
countries,
they're fighting right now.
Are definitely heading towards that kind of, it's a very right-wing, it's a very nationalistic kind of
atmosphere
policies that are coming into play. And yes, Trump started that, but we had a Conservative government in the UK before Trump was in power. But these two governments especially have legitimized, have given breath and oxygen to that kind of way of thinking, that it's all about nationalism, being insular, and
looking like us.
Yes. And it's the question of what is British to you. Of course, British people can be me.
Absolutely.
But a lot of British people can't accept that.
Afua, if we continue on this, they'll chase us out. Catherine has already looked at the time. She can't believe that the show is ending right now. We'll take our conversations off air. Okay?
I think that it's a good thing that we don't know a lot more about these things happening, because there's a growing hatred that you have when you hear some of these things.
And it causes, you to have that conversation that we take outside.
Yeah, we take outside. All right, but before we wrap things up, we have to give you, of course, this important information. At 11 a.m., we're starting our town hall because News Central is in Okwama, Delta States. We are meeting with stakeholders. You're going to hear from the people affected after the deaths of several Nigerian soldiers a few weeks ago. So please make sure you're with us at 11 a.m. for that live town hall. We'll be streaming on our social media platforms. It'll be available on all platforms. We want to hear from you, but more importantly, we want to hear from those who have been affected. I'm going to let Blessings wrap things up.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, fans. Count down.
Afua, you need cold water.
Hey. That's all the time we have for today's episode on Jasiri, guys. Thank you so much, Afua Hagan, for the information that you brought to us, and of course for giving us a better perspective.
I want to come back.
You will.
Now
you
they
will.
said it's 11:30. I apologize. It's not 11.
Can we now?
Okay, so but before we go, I want to remind our audience to keep the conversation alive. Share your thoughts, share your experiences, your insights with us on social media. We love to hear from you. I mean, there's no us without you. Ain't fans me. You know what I'm saying. With that, it's a wrap for today. Remember, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep spreading that Jasiri spirit wherever you go. We are fearless, we are bold, we're courageous. Even Afua knows that. And she's shown that.
Listen.